Let's talk about a strange paradox that pretty much defines business today. You know, the very tools we're using to connect with our customers, well, they're often the exact reason those customers are tuning us out. So today, we're going to dig into how to transform that marketing nurture from just noise into a powerful engine for real, genuine value.
You know, let's just start with something a little provocative, something I think a lot of us feel. Think about it. All those just checking in emails, the super generic blog posts, the feature updates that nobody actually asked for. We call it nurturing, right? But for the customer, it really just feels like being followed around a store by an overly eager salesperson. We tell ourselves we're staying top of mind, but what's really happening? We're just becoming the background noise they've gotten really good at ignoring.
And this number, this is exactly why. 400. That's not a small number. That's the average number of automated emails a B2B buyer gets every single month. So your message, it's not landing in some quiet, peaceful inbox. Oh no, it's dropping right into the middle of a digital hurricane. This isn't just making marketing a little harder, it has completely shattered the old playbook. And that nurture sequence you've built, chances are it's an anchor, not a lifeline.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to unpack the whole story of a new way to think about growth. We'll start with the problem of noise, then see how the old rules just crumbled. After that, we'll dive into the solution, this thing called the Sequential Utility Engine, and the psychology behind why it works so well. Then, the best part, how you can build one yourself. And we'll wrap up by looking at what this all means for the future of growth.
All right, let's dive right in. First up, the problem of noise. You know, you can't fix something unless you're brutally honest about why it's broken in the first place. And the diagnosis here is simple. That old strategy of just trying to stay top of mind, it's not just ineffective anymore, it's actively hurting you.
And this brings us to the villain of our story, really. It's a condition I call automation blindness. It's basically a defense mechanism. When people get bombarded with just useless messages, their brains do this incredible act of self-preservation. They just learn to filter you out. Think about it. Every single low-value email you send is like a little training session, teaching your audience's subconscious mind that your brand, well, your brand just equals noise.
So because of this reality, our entire goal has to shift. It's not about being top of mind anymore. That's out. The new goal is what you might call utility density. It's not about how often you show up, it's about how much value you pack into every single interaction. So here's the question you have to ask yourself. Are you interrupting their day, or are you improving it? Honestly, that's the only question that really matters anymore.
And this is so important. Every single touch point you have is a moment of truth. It either delivers a small, tangible win, we're going to call these micro wins, or it pushes that customer further away. There is no neutral ground anymore. You're either helping or you're hurting. You're either warming that lead up or you're actively cooling them down, just reinforcing that automation blindness.
Okay, so to really get the new solution, we first have to understand just how spectacularly the old one broke. I mean, this shift wasn't some slow trend, it was born from a full-blown crisis. And the story really starts with the death of the MQL, the Marketing Qualified Lead. For years, that was the gold standard, right? The sign that someone was ready to talk to sales. So let's just trace how this whole thing fell apart. Back around 2022, we hit peak lead magnet culture, right? Everyone was offering some PDF for an email, but let's be honest, almost nobody was reading them. Then, boom, 2023. Generative AI hits the scene, making content basically free to create. The web gets flooded with so much mediocre stuff that the noise becomes just unbearable. And what happens? A new kind of buyer emerges, the self-educated buyer, who's now solving like 40% of their own problem before they even think about talking to someone. And by the time we look up, those old lead scoring models based on clicks and downloads, totally, completely useless. And that's the fundamental disconnect, right there. The old model rewarded all this superficial stuff, clicks, downloads, views. These were supposed to be signals, but they stopped signaling anything meaningful at all. Our lead lists were getting bigger and bigger, but our actual sales pipelines, they were shrinking. The new model has to be way smarter. It can't reward clicks, it has to reward actual, tangible progress that the customer is making. And this number, wow, this just perfectly illustrates the impact of making that switch. The data that came out of this crisis was crystal clear. Brands that stopped chasing clicks and instead focused on delivering value, one piece at a time, saw a 300% higher conversion rate from lead to opportunity. I mean, that's not a small tweak, that's a full-on revolution.
Okay, so this is what rose from the ashes of that old broken system. And I want to be clear,
This is not just a better email campaign. It's a completely different machine. It's called the Sequential Utility Engine.
So what is this thing? Well, a sequential utility engine is an automated system, but it has a totally new prime directive. Its goal is not to send messages. Its goal is to deliver a series of small, real, problem-solving wins. So stop thinking about it like a conveyor belt that pushes people along. Instead, picture a ladder that you are building for your customer, helping them climb one rung at a time toward their own solution.
In this ladder, it has 3 really critical stages. First up is the micro win. Your job is to solve one tiny, super annoying problem for them and do it in under 2 minutes with a simple tool, a template, a calculator, a little checklist. Second, you build the conceptual bridge. See, after they get that little win, their mind is way more open. Now's your chance to reframe their problem and show them, hey, that little issue, it's part of a much bigger system you can actually master. And third is activation momentum. This is where you use their actions as triggers to deliver the next piece of value at the absolute perfect moment. It creates this amazing rhythm of progress.
So the whole point of this engine, the really crucial part, is a total shift in perspective. Your goal isn't to describe your product anymore. Your goal is to let the customer simulate the result of your product, to actually experience that positive outcome long before they even think about becoming a customer. You're not telling, you're showing. You're essentially letting them prototype their own future success. Okay, so that's the what and the how of it. But if you really want to master this, we have to understand the why. Because this engine's incredible power, it's not about the tech. It's all about deep, timeless principles of human psychology. Let me ask you a question and be honest. Have you ever had a song just stuck in your head? Or found yourself lying awake at 2 in the morning, obsessing over some project you haven't finished? Why do our brains do that? What's behind that powerful, almost compulsive need to finish things?
Well, the answer has a name. It's called the Zeigarnik Effect. And basically, our brains are hardwired to remember and obsess over unfinished tasks way more than the ones we've completed. So when you deliver that micro win, you're not just solving a little problem. You're giving them step 1 of a much bigger process. You are intentionally opening what's called a neural loop in their mind, a loop that their brain now desperately wants to close.
And you pair that with another really powerful psychological principle, the Ben Franklin effect. It's this weird quirk of human nature where if someone does a small favor for you, like say using a simple tool you provided, they actually end up liking and trusting you more. It's wild. But each one of those small acts of engagement builds this foundation of partnership, and it makes getting that next yes so much easier.
So when you get these two effects working together, the result is profound. You are fundamentally shifting the customer's entire mindset. They move from what you could call a defense state, they're skeptical, they're guarding their attention for dear life, over to an engagement state. And here, they become an active partner. They start seeking the next step, willingly investing their attention, all because you've proven that you're a source of value, not a source of noise. Okay, so we've covered a lot of theory, the problem, the history, how it works, and why it works. Now let's get really practical. It's time for the blueprint, how you can actually turn all these ideas into action.
And this is the empowering part, right? Because the question on everyone's mind is probably, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I actually build one of these things? How do you go from just sending out random emails to actually architecting a true sequence of value?
Well, here's the 3-step blueprint. Step 1, map the friction chain. And this means stop guessing and start actually researching. What is the very first, real, painful obstacle your customer runs into? Talk to them, read your support tickets, listen to sales calls. Find that initial wall they hit. Step 2, engineer the micro win. Once you know that one friction point, build a very specific tool to solve only that one thing. Don't try to boil the ocean here. And finally, step 3, automate the progression. Use your tools to watch what people do. If they use that micro win, then you automatically send the next piece. This isn't a time sequence, it's triggered by their actions.
Now, the whole system, and I mean the entire system, hinges on the quality of that very first touch point. That first micro win has to be basically perfect. It's got to be super specific, not generic. It has to be high utility. I mean, it solves a real problem. It's not just interesting. It needs to deliver that win in under 2 minutes out of respect for their time. And here's a great test. It should be so valuable that you feel like you could charge money for it. And finally, it has to be designed to naturally make them ask the next logical question, a question that conveniently your next piece of value will answer.
When you nail this, you're not just sending content anymore. You're building something way more powerful. You're building what I call a value slope. It's like this smooth pathway paved with pure utility. Each step provides so much value and clarity that it just gently pulls them forward. And the entire slope is designed so that when they get to the bottom, the most natural, obvious, and logical next step for them to take is to work with you.
All right, let's zoom all the way out for our final point. Because what we've been talking about isn't just a tactic, and it's not just a framework. It's really a new philosophy, a new manifesto for what it actually means to grow a business in today's world.
What's so brilliant about this whole model is that it brings together two things that usually feel like they're in opposition. The cold, hard logic of data, your spreadsheets, your CAC, your LTV, and the warm reality of just genuine human respect. It proves you don't have to choose between being data-driven and being human-centric. In fact, it proves the best way to win with the numbers is to win with respect.
We really need to rethink what growth even is. We tend to see it as this straight line, this forceful process of pushing. But it's not. Real sustainable growth isn't linear. It's learned. It's the natural result of effectively teaching your customers how to succeed. It comes from building them a bridge of utility that helps them get across their own canyon of noise and confusion.
And that brings us right here to the ultimate takeaway. The one single idea that I hope changes how you approach your work tomorrow. For decades, we have been obsessed with the funnel, with pushing people through a process that we designed. But the future belongs to those who just abandon that idea entirely. See, the best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel, it pulls them toward value. Build the value, create the slope, and you'll find you don't have to push anyone, they'll just come to you.